my week 1 fantasy starts are Joe Burrow at Pittsburgh. I think he has a big time day.
I like that.
Elijah Mitchell on Chicago versus Chicago. And I'm going to say this. I regret not drafting Mitchell in fantasy. There is a chance that he can lead the league in rushing yards. There's a chance.
That's a hot take, but I see where you're coming from. He needs to stay healthy. That's the concern.
Yeah. Devontae Adams versus the Chargers because I think J.C. Jackson might not play. I know that's an obvious one. So the other one is Michael Thomas versus Atlanta. He might play. He's back.
Even with A.J. Terrell, that's what's scaring me.
I'm taking MT.
Wow. Okay, so are you done?
I'm not done.
Oh, sorry. I was going to piggyback.
Albert O versus the Seahawks. I think he has a pretty good day.
Love it.
And the Ravens defense versus the Jets or the Saints defense versus Atlanta.
Oh, I forgot about defense.
Yeah, I did not do a defense. So I'll just do my starts really quick. At quarterback, I have Russell Wilson. Obviously, he's going against his old team in Seattle. It's going to be a light show. I think he's going to absolutely eat. So you want me to save my sleepers, correct?
And sits, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so number 2, for my running back start, I do have Antonio Gibson. He's going against the Jaguars. The Jaguars gave up the 10th most rushing yards to opponents last season. And there's been a lot of talk on Antonio Gibson's name this offseason in a negative light. And it's super unfortunate because I firmly believe he's going to come out. And with this opportunity that he's going to be given, he's going to thrive. At wide receiver, it's going to be a little obvious. Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton is going to be Russ's favorite target, at least, I believe, this Monday night. And he's going to have an absolute monster game. And at tight end, this one was pretty tricky for me because my tight end start of the week would have been Dawson Knox, and he was absolutely mid. However, I'm going with a surprise pick here, and this could be a sleeper, but I really don't care. Isaiah Likely against the New York Jets, Isaiah Likely right now is the tight end 2 of the Baltimore Ravens behind Mark Andrews. And of course, Mark Andrews is the obvious number 1 probably tight end this week. If you have him, you're obviously blessed. But Isaiah Likely right now is in an opportunity where he could probably see the number 3 targets on this team. And especially against the Jets, being a red zone threat that Isaiah Likely will most likely be, I think that I love Isaiah Likely this week.
I love those, Drew. Riv, do you want to go next or want me to?
Yeah, I'll go next. I got 3 guys. Did you pick a quarterback?
We all pick.
We did.
Did we all pick a?
Did you?
I didn't hear
Joe, I don't
quarterback.
even think you.
No, I haven't gone.
I picked Joe Burrow.
Picked Joe Burrow, and you picked
Russ.
Cool. Okay. So new to fantasy. Bit of a casual here. So I'm just gonna throw out some names. I thought it was fun. Jameis Winston versus the Falcons, I think, is one guy you should start. That's why I wanted to piggyback off you. Because the next guy I was gonna pick is Chris Olave with AJ Terrell. Olave, thank you. With AJ Terrell being locked on Michael Thomas. Could be a big day for the rookie. Jerry Jeudy was also another guy I felt like you should start because I feel like Russell Wilson in his game against Seattle, he's going to have a big day. And I picked Jerry Jeudy earlier for one of our other segments for Boom. So I think Judy's going to have a big day. And my last guy to start, this is an obvious one, Tyreek Hill against the Pats. I think with that secondary, it's going to be weak. They're not going to be able to stop him. Tua's big game. They're going to do their thing. Don't do what I think you're going to do, bro. Don't do it. But I think Tyreek Hill's going to have a big day. This first day with Miami, he's going to love it. Tua, first day with a big-time receiver.
With a real offense. With a real offense. This is his first time with a real offense.
Big dog offense. So those are my starts for the should I say my
real offense is crazy.
It's the first time he's ever been in a real offense.
I don't know what you mean by that.
I think he means
a
better
legitimate
weapons.
one. Don't play. You know what I mean.
You might as well start Waddle too while you're at it. Just start both.
With a run game you can actually trust. With weapons you can actually trust. With a head coach you can actually trust. With an offensive play call you can actually trust. With a real offense, don't play.
I want to have credibility on the show. Can we not?
Huh?
Can we have credibility?
Has he ever had a run game?
You said coaching. You said what?
Play caller.
Andy fucking Reid?
I said Tua.
Oh, my apologies.
You're bugging.
My apologies. Though we're talking about Tyreek Hill. My bad.
No, yeah, you're tripping off
my bad.
a lot of things.
That's why I was like, what are we talking
Come
about
on,
here?
man.
Got lost.
I'm Andrew. All right.
That's what you have an agenda as well. That's why I wouldn't shock
Should
you.
I just name my sits too while we're here?
No.
I'll go start.
No.
Come on. He hasn't gotten a start.
I thought you were naming everything. Pardon me.
man.
Do your thing, kid.
My quarterback start is going to be Derek Carr against the Chargers. I think Derek Carr has heard a lot of shit this week. You know, this year in the offseason, everyone's got him going in last place. His first game with Devontae Adams. Waller's expected to play. Renfro, he's going to have all his boys up there. My running back start of the week is going to be Travis Etienne. I believe James Robinson is expected to play.
He is.
I'm not moved. I think Etienne is going to be the RB1 here. I think he's going to get a ton of reception. So if you're in a half point or full point PPR, wheels up for Travis Etienne. Wide receiver start of the week is going to be Hollywood Brown against Kansas City. I'm expecting a shootout. I think both these teams can go back and forth. I do think Kansas City defense will get figured out at some point in terms of they'll figure out their own defense. But I think early on in the season, just like last year, with a lot of new pieces, with Honey Badger being gone, they will be susceptible to the pass. So I love Hollywood this week. And to piggyback off that tight end, I like Zach Ertz as well. I think both of these guys.
Is he going to play?
I think he's expected to. Was he questionable?
I saw that he was still on the injury report. Let me check, though.
All right. If not, I would pivot to Cole Kmet from Chicago.
Even against San Fran?
Even against San Fran.
Right,
someone's got to catch a ball. You're probably hoping on a touchdown. There's not a lot of tight ends out there.
Because my sit is going to definitely come back with your start.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we're
he's
going
still
next
questionable. Yeah, you can go sit. If you want to start, you want me to start?
I'll start this.
Okay.
These are my week 1 fantasy sits. I would stay away. I would steer clear of these players. I might be wrong on this first one, though. And that's Kirk Cousins versus Green Bay. He tends to have big-time days against Green Bay, but I think Green Bay is an elite defense. I wouldn't trust Kirk Cousins too much against that defense, and that's why I would sit him. Second one, Zeke versus Tampa. Tampa has one of the best run defenses. Don't start Zeke. And a former Cowboy, Amari Cooper versus the Carolina Panthers. Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback. Amari Cooper, even since last year, hasn't looked like an elite level wide receiver that we're accustomed to seeing. And I think that the Panthers have a young and aggressive secondary. And last one at tight end, Mike Gesicki versus New England. I think that now that you add in Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson. There's just not
Chase
enough.
Edmonds is going to get work in the pass
There's just not enough targets to go around, and I would be wary of Mike Gesicki. We are going to be giving away NBA 2K23 Legendary Editions to a couple of you guys, and all you have to do is sign up for Boom Fantasy, deposit $10, which is you're putting in $10 to get a $150 game. On top of that, you play Boom, you can double your money with your deposit. Triple. So you can make money
40 times with long shots.
Yeah. So if you want to join in the giveaway, then sign up for Boom. The link is in our bio.
But ensure that you guys make that $10 deposit. That's the only way that you gain entrance into this raffle.
And based on who wins, you guys tell us what version you want, the Legendary one, Dreamers Edition, which console, or you want it for PC. It's up to you. But I think that's a great deal.
Maybe we'll go on live on TikTok for the first time.
And NBA 2K23, I heard it's
great.
I heard it's looking great.
Riv, confirm, deny?
Fire.
That's tough.
Just make sure you use our link, because if you don't use our link, we don't know that's where you're coming from. We don't know you're coming from. Pick a side.
Link in the description.
Link description
Link
or the
in
bio.
Description. So my sits this week at the quarterback position, I really could not find many. There was not many matchups that I looked at and really just thought, I want to stay away from, especially in one quarterback leagues. The most amount of quarterbacks you'll have is probably 12. But if we're going for two quarterback leagues, excuse me, the only quarterback that I really look at outside of Kirk Cousins is probably Justin Fields. The only upside that Justin Fields has for me right now is his rushing ability. Mac Jones is another one, obviously, but outside of Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield, especially in two quarterback leagues, you're looking at a situation where the Browns' defense is going to be the highlight of their team until Deshaun Watson comes back. Baker Mayfield's not that guy that I want to put my faith in as my quarterback 2. Of course, this is only quarterback 2 scenarios. There's no one that's going to have him as his quarterback 1. But there's not a strong sense of trust that I have in Baker Mayfield going against a great Browns defense. At the running back position, I do have Ezekiel Elliott also as one of my sits. You mentioned it perfectly. Bucs have been one of the best rush defenses in the league over the past few years. And last year on opening night, Zeke struggled mightily against this Bucs defense where he didn't even put up 20 rushing yards. I definitely would stay clear of Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard is definitely lurking in the background, and it's looking as if it's going to be a split. But another one, just to give a second one, would be David Montgomery. Now I'm sorry, King.
Fuck.
Montgomery is definitely one of those players that I like as a talent, but going against San Fran, not a favorable matchup. They've just been one of the better rush defenses in the league as well. I just don't love that matchup for him. At the wide receiver position, now if he plays, yes, of course you want him in your lineup, but I feel like right now, Chris Godwin, there's too much of a risk to start him in your lineup. He plays on Sunday Night Football, 8 o'clock game, where a majority of the NFL is already played, And he's going to put you in a situation where you might not have a backup option. You want to stay clear of that. God forbid that he does not play. You just want to have that safety net. For me, ironically, I didn't want to take the chance with Chris Godwin. I put in Allen Robinson. I got burned. Find yourself a better option than Allen Robinson for Chris Godwin, and you should be okay. But Chris Godwin's not one of those guys that I want to take a chance on just for week 1. And my tight end sit is going to be Pat Freiermuth against the Bengals. Only reason why I'm staying clear is because I don't know how this offense is gonna run with Mitch Trubisky at the helm. And there's just people on this offense that if I'm Mitch Trubisky, I'm looking for before Pat Freiermuth. I'm looking at Najee for checkdowns. It could be every single play, and that's not a bad idea if you're Mitch Trubisky. Of course, Deontay Johnson. I'm higher on Mapletron than a lot of other people. Mapletron, Chase Claypool, and of course, George Pickens. There's just guys here that I look at, and Pat Freiermuth, if I'm Mitch Trubisky, that I'm just looking ahead of than Pat, and that's why Pat is my sit this week.
Well, you took David Montgomery. I really said sit the whole Bears offense. Whoever you have on the team, Komet, David Montgomery.
I don't even love Mooney this week.
Mooney?
Yeah, sit him too.
I don't
against
love
the Niners. I don't like any of them.
Their secondary
is Ward would lock him up.
Didn't Mooney embarrass Jalen Ramsey?
It's possible.
As a rookie?
It's definitely possible that he did that.
Yeah, Mooney's like that. Mooney's like that.
Also,
Gabe Davis is better.
No, he's
Mooney
not.
clears.
He's not.
Damn, I'm tight.
but one guy I did have up here. Wow.
Bro,
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
Yeah, it's facts.
No, you're good, bro. You hear me. I get it.
Sorry, bro. It's a gym.
Shit get a little tight. Nah, I understand. One of my guys, kind of not a big name, but a consistent guy, DJ Moore. You know, I think matched up against Denzel Ward, that's going to be a tough matchup for him. I don't know if he's going to be produced this week. And then what's his name?
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really adore my Eagles defense. I think it's going to be special in the front seven. I think the secondary is going to be much improved. So those are two guys that I think you should definitely sit down and stay away from. Obviously, I did say Chicago, all their players on offense, but Drew took it. So those are my guys.
My sit of the week at quarterback is going to be Mac Jones versus Miami. You mentioned it earlier, Riv. I've been low on New England. I don't like this offense. I don't like the weapons. Miami's defense, I'm not sold it's going to be fantastic by any means.
Interesting.
But I do think there's better options out there than Mac Jones. I personally would rather take the chance on Justin Fields than Mac Jones this week.
The rushing upside's fair.
The rushing upside that he gives you. Mac Jones has a pretty low floor and a pretty low ceiling, especially this week against Miami, week 1. Moving on to running back, you said Zeke. I'm going with Tony Pollard. I don't like either of them. Worried about the offensive line, and obviously Tampa Bay's front seven. They've been one of the best rush defense in the league over the last few years, so I'm worried about Dallas' offense as a whole, really outside of CeeDee Lamb. Moving on to wide receiver, you mentioned Amari Cooper, I believe, already. He was one of my sits. If I have to pivot, I'm going to go with Chase Claypool, your boy Mapletron. I want to see a week with Mitch, see what he does. I don't know if he's going to be taking the deep shots, which is what Chase Claypool has brought to this offense. You also have George Pickens right behind him who wants to take that spot over eventually. So I'm not that high on Chase Claypool this week. And then lastly at tight end is Alberto. I know there's been a lot of excitement for him in this, in training camp, in the preseason, but he hasn't been great in training camp or the preseason. Right. He was out there in the fourth quarter playing some, and Dolchich, I know, has been injured, so he hasn't really been pushing him by any means. But Alberto, there's been excitement there, but let's wait a few weeks. I don't want you to start him and he puts a dud in your lineup.
On to the sleepers. Now, this is going to be interesting because for week one fantasy sleepers, Tua versus the Pats. I think first game in Mike McDaniel's offense with the offensive weapons he has, I think the Patriots have lost a lot of pieces. Defensively, Tua could put up a pretty good performance. Rashad Penny versus the Broncos. I think the Seahawks offensive line has gotten better. I don't love the Broncos front seven. Rashad Penny is a lead back in that offense. Kenneth Walker is hurt. I think Rashad Penny could have himself a day. Juju Smith-Schuster versus Arizona. Now, the last time he was the number two option on the team, he had 1,500 yards in his second season. Now, Juju with Pat Mahomes, I think, will be revived. Arizona doesn't have a great secondary. I think Juju can have a big-time day. Evan Ingram versus the Commanders, because the Commanders have not been good in coverage in terms of their linebackers, and that's where tight ends can thrive in that area. Or you can go with Gerald Everett versus the Raiders. I think Gerald Everett with Herbert adds a dynamic offensive weapon. And sleepers for this week as well, Browns defense versus the Panthers. I think if Baker does play terrible, it's because the Browns have a big-time day.
All right, so my sleeper quarterback this week is going to be Trevor Lawrence and Carson Wentz. Trevor Lawrence has a lot of hype behind his name, especially going into year 2. Trevor Lawrence, highest touted prospect in recent memory. And now he's in a system where there are expectations for him to develop strongly. You want to see him come out week 1 and start on a high note. And I think that against the Commanders secondary, which is abysmal in my opinion, is a great way to start the season. I think Trevor Lawrence will have success. As for Carson Wentz, similar situation. Jaguars secondary is not great by any means. I expect Terry to have a great game. I expect Jahan Dotson in his debut to make an impact. Curtis Samuel healthy, he's going to have an impact as well. Antonio Gibson out of the backfield. J.D. McKissick. I expect Carson Wentz to allow these guys to have success. As for the running back, Chase Edmonds. Going against New England, where they gave up the 9th most rushing yards to opposing teams last season, I think that not only in the rushing aspect of things, I think that he's going to see a ton of work, check downs. He's going to definitely leave his mark, and I think that he's a sneaky flex start this week. At wide receiver, this is for deeper leagues. Alec Pierce, wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts, going against the Houston Texans, who I believe Derek Stingley is most likely going to be following Michael Pittman, or at least a lot of his attention is going to be on Michael Pittman, which means that someone's going to have to get the ball. And right now, Alec Pierce is listed as the wide receiver 2 for the Indianapolis Colts. He could sneakily have a great game, especially in PPR leagues. I expect Alec Pierce to be super solid there. For tight end, I did have Isaiah Likely as my sleeper, but I decided to make him my regular one. My sleeper tight end now is David Njoku. I have David Njoku as my sleeper tight end this week because Jacoby Brissett has targeted the tight end more so than any other position on the field, and he just so happens to have a strong connection with tight ends, and David Njoku was just signed to a strong contract. I expect him, with the limited options that he does have in the passing game, for David Njoku to be involved.
Hey. My sleepers for me, sorry, that was really weird. Flipping over to the other side of the Colts game, Brevin Jordan. I think Davis Mills,
he needs that a lot, dude.
I found out from Joel, he's a check down fucking king. And when you're a check down king, sometimes you like to just ditch it all to your tight end. So I think he'll get a lot of touches. He'll get a lot of receptions, a couple yards here and there. And then my next guy is Brandon Ayuk. I think against the Bears, that's a defense that he can have his way with, a defense where he can break out and give us a big-time performance. And Trey Lance is going to be able to get his feet wet, have some fun against the Bears. And then my third pick is Devonta Smith. I think with A.J. Brown, and I don't know how to say his name, with Dallas, all the attention is going to be derived on them, too.
Dallas Goedert?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I had no clue what you're talking about.
Smith could have a really, really big day. I think he's one of those guys that couldn't get open in the right situation. And all the attention is definitely going to be on A.J. Brown, his first game with the Eagles. That was Hurt's favorite target in practicing in training camp. So I think Smith could have a big day.
And on Smitty, love Smitty just as much as A.J. Brown, honestly. My quarterback sleeper is going to be Matt Ryan versus Houston. I think he's been locked in to pick a side, see all the hate I give him. And, he's ready to go crazy against Houston. I
love how both of you guys did that. You picked Tua. You picked Matty Ice.
Yeah, I love the Houston matchup. Frank Reich, we know, doesn't get off to the hottest starts. But I think this year they should beat Houston week 1. Matt Ryan should have a big part in that. Moving on to running back, my sleeper is going to be Melvin Gordon. Nathaniel Hackett came out today and said they're going to ride with the hot hand. Now, I think that's terrible. I think Javonte should be getting 70% of the work at a minimum. But in a positive game script, meaning that the Broncos should be up, they're going to run the ball a lot. I think Melvin Gordon has a great chance to get a touchdown as well. At wide receiver is going to be Elijah Moore. I know the Ravens secondary is elite. But the last time Flacco was starting quarterback last year, Elijah Moore had 8 catches, 140 yards, and a touchdown. The Jets are going to be losing all game. They're going to have to throw the ball. I know the secondary is great, but Elijah Moore is going to get his just because they're going to be constantly having to throw. Oh, sorry, I got something to say. And then lastly, as sleeper tight ends, you took him. You said Gerald Everett. There's not a lot of tight ends out there that are sleepers, so Gerald Everett.
Gerald Everett had his career year last year, though.
Huh?
He had a career year last year.
Yeah, now he's with Herbert, which is crazy.
Nice. You just want to throw it that.
No, I'm just saying Gerald Everett is legit sleeper.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I have him as my sleeper.
Okay, you kind of made it sound like you were like,
well, no, because you kind of
had to put a guy here.
You picked him. I didn't have another guy. I struggled to find Everett.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on Gerald Everett, man.
If he's your sleeper, does that mean you're sleeping on him?
No.
He's your sleeper. He should be your start then.
Mm.
Ever thought about that, buddy?
I actually should start him over Alberto.
Alberto's my sit.
Yeah.
Against Seattle, I'm fine with it, man.
we'll see. We'll see how hot of a start he gets off to.